Hey everybody, LaBrie here, and this week I'm going to be concentrating on one of my all-time childhood favorites, E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. Now, I don't know about you, but this is the movie as a child that made me look to the stars and hope and wish that someday I too could be BFFs with the cutest, squishiest little alien ever known to man. Now, the movie has a lot of iconic scenes. A lot of the movie is shot in Elliot's bedroom and his closet, so I really like to focus in on the closet because there were a lot of really fun toys and that sort of stuff that I like to use. I also had in my collection an original 1980s toy with really bad packaging, so I'm actually going to take that out of the packaging and I'd like to incorporate it into the diorama as well. So let's get started. I really wanted to do something a little different with this diorama. So what I did was I bought a 9-inch Lazy Susan. This is going to allow me to make a double-sided diorama. I want to do a closet scene on one side, and then on the other side, I want to do an outdoor scene. So I've taken a couple measurements here to kind of divide it, obviously giving about 4.5 inches to both sides. And since I'm creating the closet scene, I wanted to start off by laying down some flooring. So when I looked really, really close at the movie, it was very hard to see, but I did see hardwood flooring. And what I'm going to do is use this Bentley House flooring. This is actual true dollhouse flooring. I rarely ever use actual dollhouse materials, but I'm going to do it this time. This Bentley House wood flooring is pretty good because it's self-sticking. So all you have to do is remove the film off the back and then the flooring will just stick directly to whatever you're putting it on, which is great for this because I don't have to worry about gluing or anything like that. So basically, of course, I'm just creating a stencil so I know how much to cut. I just want to do a half floor. I'm not going to do the whole base because obviously the second part will be the outside. And I'm going to cut that down and then I'm just going to adhere it directly to my Lazy Susan. Now, since it's real wood, I can sand it. So once it's on there nice and straight, took me a couple times. I'm going to take a little sandpaper and just sand the edges to make it nice and smooth and nice and even. For the core of the build, I am using some foam board. I use that a lot, as you guys know. I purchase a lot at a time and then I cut it down and use remnants, and I have just enough actually to create a closet space. So I am going to go up about 9 inches tall. It does look like there are several shelves, but E.T. kind of lives underneath the bottom shelf in like a little cubby that they make him. So I definitely want it to be tall enough to have a little cubby and then tall enough to have a couple shelves full of toys and other little goodies that they've put up there. It looks like from different angles that the ceiling above the very top shelf is at an angle, but I'm actually not going to do that for this diorama. So my foam shelf pretty much is done. Here's my little E.T. that I'm going to use. I just want to make sure that he definitely fits. I kept using him to make sure that I was doing that bottom shelf exactly at the right height. The other thing that's interesting about this closet in the movie is it's a Jack and Jill closet. So on one side is Gertie's bedroom, and then of course on the other side is Elliot's bedroom. And they have these accordion style doors, and the accordion style doors are louvered. So in order to get that look, what I did was I just bought large window shutters. And since I don't have the space to create a true louvered doors, these accordion louvered doors, I'm just going to add a couple on each side to just give it the same look that we see in the movie. So I'm going to glue them together and I'll have 2 on either side and then I'll stain them brown to match the ones that we see in the movie. Now, Gertie's side technically is white and then Elliot's side is like a stained brown color, but I'm just going to do them both in the brown color. The other thing I'm going to do is take some wood trim and I'm going to go ahead and trim out my shelving, of course, to get rid of that foam board edging. Basically, I just used my white trim glue, added that to all the foam board, glued in my trim, and I painted it white. And then I went ahead and glued in my shutters, aka louvered closet doors. Once that's all nice and dry, I'm going to start adding my toys. So I printed up a whole bunch of different toys. I'll leave the link in the description to the different Etsy shops that I bought these from. You might recognize them if you watched my collaboration with Ara over at Bentley House, because these are the toys that I actually made for her also. For hers though, I went an extra step and I filled them with wood so that they'd be nice and sturdy. I'm not going to do that here. It's really not necessary for what I'm doing. So I'm just cutting those all out, gluing them together, and then I'm going to be placing them inside my closet, of course, in various locations. In addition to the board games and stuff, it also appears like there's blankets up there or probably sleeping bags and sheet sets and stuff like that. And so I just grabbed a whole bunch of different random materials that I have. I do have this green and yellow blanket with some fringe. I've got this blue blanket as well that probably came off something. I can see there's glue on it. I have a striped pillow. I have some different felt pieces that are just kind of scraps from other projects that I've done. I've got some pink and some red. And so I'm going to start folding these and putting them in place. I kind of want to make it look like a regular closet, right? Like a kid's closet that's unorganized and it's all messy, because when mom tells us to go clean our room, what do? We just shove everything in the closet and we throw everything else under the bed just so we can go outside and play, right? And so that's what I kind of want to make it look like. A couple shoved blankets up on the top shelf, or maybe a rolled sleeping bag, a couple blankets. And then I'm going to start adding my board games that I made, placing those around as well. The other thing I want to do is kind of work on E.T.'s little sleeping pad area, his little home away from home. So I'm going to throw in a couple pillows down there. I've got a fake stack of books that I'm going to use for E.T.'s lamp that's in there. A couple pillows, and then this is kind of the beginning stages of that. Now, the other thing that's really fun about the closet is all around E.T., right? The very famous scene of him kind of hiding himself within all the stuffed animals so that the mom doesn't catch him in there. Hilarious scene, so cute, and I want to build up a whole bunch of stuffed animals on either side of the base of the closet. A couple of the toys that I noticed that kind of stood out to me was a Raggedy Ann doll, a really big one. They had one of those really oversized Raggedy Ann, so I have one of those. This adorable lion, this was actually given to me by my sister. This is an original Care Bear lion. I found this oversized monkey over at Hobby Lobby. Then I have a few other little small stuffed animals that I'm going to incorporate as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of those in. Now, it does look like on one side of the closet where the stuffed animals are, they've got some boxes and stuff that the animals are sitting on that kind of allowed for them to be built up on each other. So I have a little paper dollhouse that I'm going to add also down there and start adding all of the different cute little stuffed animals and dolls. It was really hard for me to glue these in, so I did use my hot glue, and I just used one dab. So that way, if I wanted to ever remove these for any reason, it would be easier to remove one dab of hot glue than other types of glue. So that's how I installed them. Okay, and it's kind of coming together. I love all the stuffed animals. I think they look really great. To be honest, I could add more. So those are the kind of treasures I'll look for in the future, but this is what I have going on. And I think it's looking pretty good. But now, of course, I need to add all of my other toys. This, of course, is just some of my toy stash that I have. And I'm going to start adding in what I can to the shelves. And I want to make it look really full, but also kind of messy. I did really look at the closet over and over again, and it was just a whole bunch of really fun random toys. There were some things that really did stand out to me as far as 80s toys go, but I did come across this one ABC book. I thought it would be perfect to incorporate an alphabet book because there's this shot of E.T. sitting in there as he's learning the alphabet and learning to speak. So I'm definitely going to incorporate that. And I just kind of tossed the toys in wherever they landed. If it felt like a child probably just shoved it up there, I glued it in place. All right, and then we still have little E.T.'s little cubby, and we have a lot of random toys. I tried to put toys that look like baby toys maybe up on the top shelf. It gave a timeline for the kids, right? So like the older toys or baby toys are on the top, and then maybe some of the newer toys and games would be closer to the bottom shelves, where those would be the toys that they would be using more often. I didn't really show it, but behind the books too, there was like an open empty space, so I did put some extra toys and pillows and a little blanket in there as well. Okay, so a couple other key elements that I need to add, of course, besides my E.T. here, which we'll get to him. There is a stool, and sometimes we see the stool with a lamp on it with like a shade over it, almost like a piece of material, giving off this very warm light. But more importantly, the stool is also where they keep the flowers that E.T. brings back to life. And of course, that is a much more important item because it indicates to the audience how E.T. is doing, right? Physically and mentally, really. And so I have this little stool that I'll be gluing right in place. And then instead of the lamp, I'm going to use this flower pot with these flowers. Now, these look exactly like the flower pot and the flowers from the movie. I didn't make this. The oddest thing, the story behind this is that I randomly found this in some sort of haul that I purchased a long time ago. There were no ETs in the haul. I just saw it, and of course it hit me that it looked like an ET plant. And so what I did was I just put it up on my shelf and I left it there. And it's been sitting up there for like a couple years now, maybe longer. And so when I was cultivating and putting together all the stuff that I wanted to use for this project, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to use my little E.T. flower pot. And of course it works perfectly. So that's the story behind that. It was obviously meant to be, and it's going to finally find a home where it, in my opinion, truly belongs, which is right here in this E.T. diorama. So I'll go ahead and glue that in. And then I bought these LED battery operated lamps, and I'm going to put one of those on my little books in the back to give E.T. a little light to read his books. All right. And so now that the diorama itself is pretty much complete at this point, anyway, this side of it, the closet side of it, let's talk a little bit about my E.T. here. It's a Universal Studios E.T. It does have a Kraft Foods label. It is not an original from the 80s. This is actually a Kraft Foods manufactured E.T. This came out in 2002 when the film was re-released to celebrate the 20th anniversary. And of course, that re-release came out with new scenes and new visual effects, a digitally remixed soundtrack, which is very interesting. So this is the original box that it came in. I do not have the original box. If I had this E.T. in the original box, I would not be doing what I'm about to do to this E.T., which is paint it. Okay. This is the original E.T. I was going to use for the diorama. It comes on this little base. I bought this at World Market. And the reason I bought it is not only does it look really good, it also talks. And I was like, I definitely need an E.T. that talks. So here's kind of what it sounds like. It's pretty cute. So the reason I'm going to paint my little craft E.T. is because he's kind of plain looking and I need to add a little bit more dimension to him. All right, and then while I paint him, if we could just like take a moment to appreciate the E.T. booty. It is so freaking hilarious to me. I don't know why. And you know what's funny is when I'm looking at all of these, some of these are really, they are vintage early 80s E.T. little figures. They don't all have the same booties. Some like have this like really wrinkled little look here and they look like bacon in a package. And then some of them, they just look like a little frog booty. So they're super cute, but this is my smallest E.T. right here, and he definitely has the cutest little booty. And this little guy comes from the Micro brand, so he's a little micro figure, super cute. You can get this one on Amazon for like $7, $7 or $8. Anyway, I'll put the link in the descriptions for most all the stuff that I'm showing you today. All right, now that he's all painted and he looks a lot better. Now, when you're using acrylic paint on top of plastic like this, you can then just do a light spray of a matte spray sealer. Of course, you don't want them to be super shiny. And in this case, then that will keep your paint on. All right, here's some little close-ups. And then I'm going to go ahead and put him inside his little new home now. Oh yes, he's so adorable in there. And here it is with the lights off. And the only other thing I wanted to use, I'm not sure how I'm going to do it quite yet. I'm just going to tell you about it real quick. I bought this bracelet. This is from Hobby Lobby, but it was in their Explorer collection. And so it's supposed to be all of the planets, which I love that. And I really want to do something in the closet section with him, with these planets. Obviously, there's the whole scene where he holds up the fruit and he's showing that he's from a different galaxy. And I just really love that. So I want to incorporate this bracelet somehow. For now, I'm just going to hang it on the closet door. To me, it's like screaming, hey, I'm a bracelet. I want to make it look, you know, like the old school decoupage planet dioramas that we used to do as kids. So I'm going to work on that, but we'll get back to that piece. All right, so there it is, you guys, the diorama. The closet side is pretty much completed, but now, of course, we have the whole other side to work on, which I'm going to do a whole outdoor diorama there. But it's going to have to be in another episode because I've just kind of run out of time. So anyway, real quick, let me show you this original 1984 E.T. and Elliot powered bicycle. So you can see that the packaging is pretty rough. You know, a lot of times when it comes to this sort of thing, you want to keep it in the packaging. This particular toy is not horribly expensive by any means, and it was pretty mass manufactured, so it's not like you can't get a hold of it and it's super rare or anything like that. The packaging, not only is it ripped on the side, but it's yellowed quite a bit. And what's happened is there's like a hole cut out in the bottom of it. So the toy itself is really not protected and it's got a lot of dirt and dust inside there. So I am going to go ahead and take it out. I'm going to use it in my diorama. And basically you can kind of get an idea of what I'm going to do out here. I'm not going to do the flying moon scene. But I think there's another scene that I want to not replicate fully, but at least have all the elements in it that I think would be a little bit more interesting. It does actually still scoot a little bit, so that's cool. But anyway, so that's coming up in the next episode of E.T. The other thing I'll talk about in the next episode is my meeting with Dee Wallace, which is the mom from E.T. And I'll kind of share with you a little bit about that experience with her. It'll be a fun episode, so don't miss it. And when I say don't miss it, I mean subscribe and put on notifications so that you'll know when the next video pops up. If you haven't already, please go ahead and give that video a thumbs up. That helps the channel. Comment below. Let me know what you think of the E.T. diorama so far. Thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye!